Greetings of the day. I welcome you all for sixth session of department level elective analysis and synthesis of mechanisms. So let us summarize the steps in the synthesis process which we have studied in the previous sessions. So in the synthesis of mechanism, the problem divides itself into three steps. The first step is type synthesis, second step is number synthesis, and third step is dimensional synthesis. So type synthesis refers to the selection of mechanism, that is type of mechanism to be used for getting a desired motion, or it can be type of link, maybe gear drive or belt and chain drive or coupling, and cam and follower, etc. can be used to form a mechanism. While selecting the type of mechanism, the designer may have to consider the design aspects such as material available, manufacturing processes, floor space, and so on. Along with this, some of the ergonomics and aesthetic considerations are also kept in mind. Ergonomic considerations are considerations which are related to the comfort of human being, and the aesthetic considerations are consist of the appearance of particular mechanism, that is a color or shape, or we can say the fanciness of mechanism. So these all are considerations which are to be involved in type synthesis. Second step is number synthesis, where it refers to determination of number of links and the respected joints needed to produce the required motion. It also includes calculating the degrees of freedom for particular motion. So we can employ Glubr's formula to find out the degrees of freedom, or Kurzbach criteria to find out degrees of freedom, where degrees of freedom is restricted to 1 degree for planar mechanisms. And the last step, third step, is dimensional synthesis, where it refers to determination of required dimension of various links involved in the mechanism, which includes the length of links, distance between pivoted points for a fixed link, type of link, that is binary or ternary, angle between bell crank levers, cam contours, gear ratios, and so on. So this was brief summary of steps involved in synthesis process. On the other hand, the tasks of kinematic synthesis involves three kinds of methods. The first method can be considered as function generation, second as path generation, and third as motion generation, or which is also called as body guidance. So function generation is nothing but design of some function with respect to relationship between input and output. So let us assume that while designing a mechanism, the general requirement is that the output link should either rotate or oscillate or reciprocate according to specific function of time or function of input motion. That is why it is considered to be in function generation. So the motion of input and output link must be correlated to form the generation of function. For example, if we take 4-bar mechanism to generate function y is equal to f of x, where x indicates the motion of input link and the mechanism to be designed such that the motion of output link would be function of y, which can be considered as approximately. The second type is path generation, where a mechanism is required to guide a point on a coupler along a path having the prescribed shape. The common requirements are that the portion of path can be circular arc or ellipse or a straight line. These are basic shapes which are to be expected to trace by a point of a coupler. And last step is, or last method is motion generation or body guidance, where it is required the entire body of coupler to be guided through a prescribed motion sequence, where both positions of a point within the moving body and angular displacement of body are given, like 3 position synthesis or 2 position synthesis, and the motion has to be prescribed as simple translation or combination of translation and rotation. So this was the summary of various types which we have studied in the previous sessions. So now let us study approximated approach for function generation. Just now I have stated what is function generation. So while designing a mechanism, the frequent requirement is that the output link should either rotate, oscillate or reciprocate according to specific function of time or function of motion of input link. That means if the required motion is considered to be as rotation or oscillation or reciprocation, which need to be specified according to the function of time or either with respect to motion of input link. Such kind of problem can be considered in the function generation. So now if you consider the approach for the function generation, there are two approaches. One is approximated approach and another one is exact approach. The exact approach is nothing but it is expected that if your function describes as y is equal to f of x to generate or to design a 4-bar mechanism to generate this particular function, then in exact approach it is expected that your designed or fabricated 4-bar mechanism should generate exact function as y is equal to f of x. On the other hand, when we consider the approximated approach, then it is expected that the fabricated 4-bar mechanism to generate the function y is equal to f of x would generate the approximated function which will be nearby to the exact function as y is equal to f of x. So hence it is called as approximated approach. Obviously it will be prone to some errors. That is why it is called as approximated approach. So in this case, x represents the motion of input link and the mechanism is to be designed such that the motion of output link approximates the function y. So in designing a mechanism to generate a particular function, it is usually impossible to accurately produce the function at more than a few points. The points at which the generated and desired functions agree are known as precision points. So that means if this function is considered to be exact function and function which is prescribed by the fabricated mechanism is considered to be a generated function. So if we consider the points within these two functions where they agree are considered as precision points or accuracy points and must be located so as to minimize the error generated between these points. So that means the points of desired function, that is exact function as y is equal to f of x, and generated function similar to y is equal to f of x by fabricated mechanism, the matching points between these two functions are to be considered to eliminate or to minimize the error generated between these 2 points. So precision points for function generations can be located using the graphical method. Now I'll be able to elaborate it using a graph. Let us assume that function y is equal to f of x is kept in xy plane, or it is prescribed in xy plane. Let us consider this particular curve, which is shown in the chocolatey color, as fx, that is prescribed function. And let us consider this dotted curve, which is shown by blue color, as actual generated function. So that means prescribed function is nothing but the exact function which is expected to generate, and whereas generated function, actual generated function, means that the fabricated mechanism which is generating the function similar to your expected function is called as the actual generated function. So now if you see the points, if you observe the points where the prescribed function and actual functions are matching. So first point is this one, second point is this one, third point is this one, fourth point is this one, fifth point is this one, sixth point is this one, and seventh point is this one. So these points are considered as precision points, or we can consider it as accuracy points. So now let us consider the start of function with the coordinate of x as x0 and y as y0, with which the function starts. These 2 points are considered as the initial points for x and y. Let us consider the first precision point, which is designated as p1. The respective coordinate is shown as for x axis it is shown as x1, and for y axis it is shown as y1. Similarly, this point is considered as precision point number 2. The coordinates are shown as x2 and y2. Similarly, this point is considered to be the precision point number 3, that is p3, and the respective coordinates are shown as x3 and y3. Similarly, n points can be considered, or we can consider points equal to j. So this point is considered as pj, and the respective coordinates are xj and xy. Similarly, if we consider the n points, then all kinds of such point where both the functions are matching are considered to be in line with this particular path, and the respective coordinates are shown by xn and yn. And then the such kind of all points, if we consider, then the last point will be obviously equal to p n plus 1, and the respective coordinates are xn plus 1 and yn plus 1. So what we understand from this particular graph is that any arbitrary function y is equal to f of x, it means that input moves to when input moves to x, the output is expected to move to y is equal to f of x for the range x0 to xn plus 1. So if you would like to find out the range for x, then you will consider the initial point of x as x0 and the final point of x as xn plus 1. Similarly, if you want to find out the range of corresponding y, the initial point is considered as y0 and the final point is considered as yn plus 1. So when your x is moving to x0, the y will move to y0. Similarly, for x1 it will be y1, for x2 it will be y2, for x3 is equal to y3, and so on. So if you increase the precision points within the function, obviously accuracy will be more. So you have to minimize the distance between two precision points. Hence, more the precision points, more will be the accuracy. So as it is already discussed that two curves are shown as actual and prescribed one, in reality the mechanism does not fit an exact solution, but a few points it satisfies the requirements which are called as precision points, which are p1, p2, p3, and so on. So you must ask me a question, why the two curves which are shown as actual and prescribed in reality does not fit an exact solution. The reason is the mechanism which is being fabricated is prone to some kind of error which are considered to be structural error and mechanical errors. If we consider the difference between actual motion and expected motion, then the error is called as structural error. The error producing from tolerances in the length of link or bearing tolerances are considered as mechanical errors. This can come from the defective manufacturing process or such kind of regions. So the amount of error is defined by number of precision points. Hence, more the precision points, lesser will be the error and more will be the accuracy. Hence, to locate the precision points, the popular method called as Chebyshev spacing method is used. The number of precision points usually considered equal to fixed number of parameters, and it may vary from 3 to 6. Usually it is considered, so it may be considered as 3 or 6. Many times it will be considered as either 3 or maximum precision point at 6. Obviously this is also depends on the application where you are going to synthesize your mechanism. The best spacing method for locating the precision point in its first trial is considered as the Chebyshev spacing method. Many times in the exam this question will be asked that the specify name of method for locating the precision points. Then you need to write the name of method as Chebyshev spacing and then you have to follow the procedure. So according to Freudenstein and Sandor, the Chebyshev spacing for n points in the range of n is nothing but number of precision points or number of accuracy points within the range of x as starting from xs and finishing at xf, that means x varies from xs to xf, is given by xj is equal to, that is the xj is nothing but j is nothing but it is considered as 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, and x is considered as the number of precision points. So if I put j is equal to 1, then we get first precision point as x1, which is equal to 1/2 xs plus xf minus 1/2 xf minus xs into cos of pi in bracket 2j minus 1 divided by 2n bracket complete. Here j is nothing but number of precision points which varies from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. It depends on how many number of n, that is number of precision points you are or accuracy points you are considering. So as we know that xf minus xs can be considered as the variation between the x, so we consider this as del x. So we can rewrite this formula as 1/2 xs plus xf minus 1/2 del x into cos pi 2j minus 1 divided by 2n. We are going to derive this particular formula using the graphical method. So as of now you just remember this particular formula and then later we are going to derive this particular formula. So you just remember this formula as of now. As I already said, xj are nothing but the precision points and n is nothing but number of precision points. How many number of precision points you are considering. Del x is considered as range in x, that is xf minus xs, and j can be considered as 1, 2 till you reach to n, that is number of precision points. Subscripts s and f indicates the start and finish positions respectively. As I already said, the input crank is expected to starts its displacement from xs and finishes its displacement at xf. So now let us start studying the graphical method which is used for locating precision or accuracy points using Chebyshev spacing method. The first step is to draw a semicircle of a diameter equal to the range as del x is equal to xf minus xs. So that means you have to consider the range of x, that is range of displacement of input crank to draw a semicircle with the corresponding diameter. So now let us consider the xy plane where we have to draw a semicircle. So xs is considered as the starting point of displacement of input crank and xf as finishing point of displacement of input crank. So obviously the range is considered as del x is equal to xf, that is the distance is measured from the origin. This point is considered as the origin. So xf minus xs will give you del x. So now let us draw a semicircle with the diameter equal to del x, and then if we go to the next step, so let us go to the next step. Here the second step is described here. So the second step is we have to inscribe a regular polygon having the number of sides equal to twice the number of precision points required. So if we consider, suppose number of precision points are as 3, so we have to prescribe or inscribe a half hexagon inside the semicircle. But the condition is the hexagon has to be inscribed in the semicircle in such a way that the intersection of corners of hexagon and the circumference of circle, from that particular point we have to draw perpendiculars on the x-axis, and those points are considered to be the precision points. So if we consider 3 precision points, we must be able to draw 3 perpendiculars from 3 corners of the hexagon which are intersecting at some point of circumference of semicircle. So now let us try to visualize the this particular step using graphics. So let us consider the xy plane with the origin O, as we have already studied that xs is the starting point of input crank, displacement of input crank, and xf as finishing point. This distance will be considered as the diameter of circle, which is del x, which is nothing but the range of x. We have drawn a semicircle with the corresponding diameter. This point will be considered as the midpoint of xs and xf. So we can write it as, if you want to write the equation for radius of circle, we can write this as xf minus xs divided by 2. So this distance is nothing but the radius of this semicircle. Now if you want to find out the midpoint of this semicircle from the origin, we have to consider the formula as xf plus xs divided by 2, which is shown by this particular distance. So this particular distance indicates the midpoint of xs and xf from the origin. So now, so next step, as it is written that we have to inscribe a regular polygon having the number of sides equal to twice the number of precision points. So here we are considering precision points are as 3, that is x1, x2 and x3. So n, small n is equal to 3. So how many sides we have to consider? That is 2 into n, that is 2 into 3. So we have to inscribe a hexagon, half hexagon within the semicircle. So now the condition is that you have to inscribe the hexagon, half hexagon, in such a way that corner of hexagon, like first corner, second corner and third corner, where it is intersecting the circumference of semicircle, from these 3 points we have to draw a perpendicular which is crossing to the x-axis, or which is to be drawn, which is to be projected on the x-axis. So when we draw perpendicular from the first corner projected towards the x-axis, this point is considered as precision point number 1, which is x1. Similarly, the second corner is this one. So from here also we have to draw a perpendicular projected towards the x-axis. So this is considered to be the second precision point, which is x2. Similarly, third corner is this one. So we have to again draw a perpendicular projected towards the x-axis, and this particular point is considered as third precision point. So this is how a graphical method is used to locate the precision points. But you must consider the second step, which is very important, how to inscribe the hexagon. Now if we take the example, with the other way, if you inscribe the hexagon in this fashion, so how many corners you get in the semicircle? First corner and second corner. You can't consider this corner because this is considered as the starting point, and this is considered as the finishing point. So these 2 points cannot be considered as the accuracy points, or we can say precision points. So here there are only, you get only 2 corners, and if you draw perpendicular from the 2 corners, you will get only 2 precision points. So that is why if you inscribe your hexagon in this fashion, it will be wrong. You have to make note that it has to be inscribed in such a fashion that the number of precision points must be equal to number of corners which are intersecting in the circumference of the semicircle. So if you measure the distance from O to x1, you will get the value of x1. If you measure the distance from O to x2, you will get value of x2. And if you measure distance from O to x3, you will get value of x3. So this is how, if you draw this procedure, if you follow this procedure on a graph paper, you will be able to find out value of x1, x2 and x3 using the Chebyshev spacing method. So this is how the method is to be followed. Okay, so now if we consider the 3 different positions of radius r to define the position of corners of the half hexagon, let us consider the first position of r. This particular position of r will be considered as first position, which is inclined at 30 degrees. The second position is considered to be this position for r, and which is inclined at 90 degrees. And third position will be considered as this one, where we are getting intersection of corner of hexagon with the circumference, and the angle will be 150 degrees. Why are we doing this? Because if we would like to find out the distance between x1 and x2, which is nothing but the projection of this r on x-axis, then we can consider a formula as r cos 30, so that we will get distance between x1 and x2, now which is shown here. So if you see this particular distance between x1 and x2, we will consider the r, as we have already studied. R is nothing but xf minus xs divided by 2 into cos 30. Why we are doing this? Because this distance is nothing but projection of r, which is inclined at 30 degrees on the x-axis, to get the value of, or distance between x1 and x2. So now let us go for the finding out the values of x1, x2 and x3 by taking one example. So let us consider the range of x, which is starting from 1 to 3. So we will consider xs as 1 and xf as 3. So we can calculate the range as del x is equal to xf minus xs, which is equal to 3 minus 1, which is equal to 2. So as we know that we have to draw a circle where the diameter, which is equal to the range of x, that is 2. So we can say the radius, the diameter of circle is equal to 2, hence radius of circle will be equal to del x divided by 2, that is 1. So we have to draw a circle considering the diameter equal to 2, and then we will be now finding out the various points. So when you are calculating x2, the formula is considered as xs plus r. So now let us try to understand this particular formula using graphics. So if I want to find out x2, obviously I will consider the distance from O to xs, and then I will consider the radius, because distance between xs and x2 is considered as radius, and as we know the value of xs, so that is nothing but distance between point O to xs. So that is why it is written as xs plus r, or it can be written as xs plus del x divided by 2. So as we know value of xs as 1 and value of del x as 2 divided by 2, so we will get answer 1 plus 1 as 2. So value of x2 will be considered to be, or it has been evaluated or estimated to be 2. Similarly, now if I want to find out the value of x1, what we need to consider is, we can consider a formula where x2 minus r cos 30. Now let us try to find out what is x2. x2 is nothing but distance between O to point x2. So distance between O and x2 is considered as the value of x2 minus r cos 30. What is r cos 30? We have already written here. R cos 30 is nothing but x1, distance between x1 and x2. So if you want to find out distance x1, that is distance from point O and x1, you need to take the subtraction of x2, that is O to x2 minus x1 and x2, so which is nothing but r cos 30, so that you will get this particular distance. So we will write it as, we know the value of x2, we will put it here as 2 minus del x divided by 2, that is 2 by 2 into cos 30, which is equal to 1.134. Now let us find out the value of x3. So to find out the value of x3, we need to consider distance from O and point x3, which consists of distance O to x2 plus distance between x2 to point x3. So if you consider the distance between x2 and x3, which is considered to be again the projection of this r on the x-axis, which is inclined at 150 degrees from this side, and if you consider angle from this particular side, it is same as 30. So let us consider to be r cos 30, since we have to take the addition of x2 and distance between x2 and x3. So we will write formula as x3 is equal to x2 plus r cos 30, so which is nothing but x2 plus del x divided by 2 cos 30. So we will put the value x2 is equal to 2 r, or we can consider this as del x divided by 2, that is 2 by 2 into cos 30, we get answer as 2.866. So when you don't have graph paper, you can use the graphical graphics to formulate the equations, and from those particular equations you will be able to find out the answers for various precision points such as x1, x2 and x3. Try to understand that values of x1, x2 and x3 are depends on the angles at which the various positions of r, that is radius, are located, to find out the intersection of corner of hexagon and the circumference. So now let us try to write the generalized formulas for Chebyshev spacing. Again we will consider the same configuration, and now we will try to write generalized formula for x1, x2 and x3 and so on. Let us consider the generalized formula for x as xj, where j varies from 1, 2, 3 and so on. It depends on how many number of precision points you are assuming for solving the synthesis problem of 4-bar mechanism. So if we want to write the generalized formula, we have to transform the equation of x1 as we have seen that x1 is nothing but, if you want to find out value of x1, then you have to consider the value or the distance between point O and x2, which is nothing but, which is shown here. The distance between point O to x2 is considered as xf plus xs divided by 2, which is nothing but the midpoint between point xs and xf. So let us write it as x1 is equal to xf plus xs divided by 2 minus, now this particular term is considered as the radius of circle, which is xf minus xs divided by 2. So if you consider this particular distance, it is considered as radius, and when this radius is located at inclination 30, and if you want to find out the projection of this particular position on the x-axis, we get the distance between x1 and x2 as xf minus xs divided by 2 into cos 30. So if you subtract this particular distance and this particular distance, obviously you will get the value of x1. So formula for x1 can be written as xf plus xs divided by 2 minus xf minus xs divided by 2 into cos 30. Similarly, we will write the formula for x2. So again, if you want to find out the x2, you need to consider the distance from, actually this is direct distance between point O and point x2, but if you consider the projection of this particular r, which is located at 90 degrees, which has to be subtracted from this particular distance itself, though it is 0. Now obviously if you get answer of cos 90 degrees, the answer is 0. So you know, you are going to get the distance between point O to x2 itself. But the generalized formula can be written as x2 is equal to xf plus xs divided by 2, that means this particular distance, minus projection of this particular r, the position number 2, which is inclined at 30 degrees on x-axis, which is nothing but 0. So let us consider the radius as r as it is, that is xf minus xs divided by 2, and the angle for cos is considered to be 90 degrees, which is nothing but 0. So anyhow this term minus 0, you will get this term itself, so which is nothing but the distance from O to x2. And now for x3, we will consider the formula as xf plus xs divided by 2 minus xf minus xs divided by 2 into cos 150. So to find out the distance x3 or value of x3, we need to consider the addition of distance from O to x2 and then distance between x2 to x3. So that is why it is considered as this particular formula. But when the angle is considered as 150, you can write it directly, so that you will get automatically the addition between these two these two distances. So this is how we have rewritten the formula in the formula in the form of xf and xs with some angle. Now if you want to rewrite this formula again in some generalized format, what we have to do is we have to replace these angles with in terms of pi. So as we know that 30 degrees is nothing but pi by 6, 90 degrees is nothing but pi by 2, and 150 degrees is nothing but 5 pi by 6. So now what we will do is we will try to write these three formulas using single generalized formula as xj. Now 1, 2 and 3 are replaced by j. So xj is considered as xf plus xs divided by 2. So this term will be as it is, minus r, term of r, that is radius, which is xf minus xs divided by 2 will be also as it is, only there will be change in the angle. Now previously it was given in degrees by direct values, because we were having some graphical form, but now we have to express it in terms of pi. So how you just try to understand how it has been transformed into some another form. It is written as cos pi into 2j minus 1 divided by 2 into n. where j is nothing but the precision point starting from 1, 2, 3 and so on, and n is considered as number of precision points. So now let us consider as precision points are considered to be 3, that is x1, x2 and x3. So let us put value of j as 1. So calculate value of x1 as xf plus xs divided by 2 minus xf minus xs divided by 2 cos pi into 2 into j. Now j, value of j we have put as 1. So 2 into 1 is 2 minus 1 will get answer as 1 divided by 2 into n. So number of precision points here considered are 3. So 2 into 3 will get 6. So here we get pi by 6. So pi by 6 is nothing but 30. So formula for generalization is correct. Now let us consider j as 2. So I will put j is equal to 2 here and here also. So we get 2 into 2 as 4, 4 minus 1 as 3 and divided by 2 into n, that is 3, that is 6. So 3 divided by 6 is nothing but pi by 2. So pi by 2 is nothing but 90 degrees. Now let us consider the value of j as 3. So we will put j is equal to 3 and n is equal to 3 again. So we get this particular term as 2 into 3 as 6, 6 minus 1 as 5. So we get this term as 5 pi divided by 2 into n as 2 into 3, that is 6. So we get answer as 5 pi by 6. 5 pi by 6 is nothing but 150 degrees. So this particular formula is considered to be the generalized formula to calculate the value of particular precision points, depends on how many precision points you have selected. So please try to remember this particular formula. Now we have derived this. Now if you remember, this particular formula only was written in the previous slide, which we have derived now using this graphical approach. Remember one important thing, that many times students get confused with consideration of precision points. Now I will tell you the important note. Many times students consider xs and xf itself as precision points, but please remember that xs and xf cannot be considered as the precision points, because xs is considered to be the starting point of displacement of input crank and xf is considered to be the finishing point of displacement of input crank. In between xs and xf we have to consider the precision points. Hence xs and xf can't be precision points, whereas x1, x2 and x3 or such kind of precision points where your actual function and the prescribed functions are matching are considered to be the accuracy points. Now let us go for studying the angle relationship for function generation. Try to understand this diagram first. Here the 4-bar mechanism is shown. AD is considered as fixed link, AB is considered as the input crank, BC is considered as the coupler, and DC or CD is considered as the output crank. Now let us try to understand how many positions of input crank are shown. B1 position, A B1, this particular position which is inclined at angle theta s is shown as, or it is considered as starting position of input crank, that is the starting when it will start displacing from the first position as, or starting position as A B1. Similarly, the finishing position, that is the end position of input crank, is considered as A B2, which is inclined at angle theta f. And in between B1 and B2, that is in between starting point and finishing point, you can visualize there is one more point which is drawn, that is nothing but AB, link AB. So this link AB is considered to be the precision point. So in this particular diagram, precision point is considered as only one, and it can be considered to be inclined at angle theta. Similarly, for output crank also, you can find out the starting position of output crank as DC1, which is inclined at theta s. The finishing position of output crank is considered as DC2, which is inclined at phi f, and the one precision point which is considered as link CD, which is inclined at angle phi. So respective positions of input crank and output crank are shown here. So angular positions as theta s, theta f considered for the input crank, and phi s and phi f are considered for the output crank. Respective linear displacement for input crank is considered as it starting from xs and finishing at xf. Similarly, for output crank it should be considered as y. You have to there is some mistake. Instead of showing x, you have to show it here as ys, y and yf, so which is particularly for the output crank. So if you consider the graph of x, variation of theta with respect to s, that means variation of angular displacement with respect to the variation in the linear displacement for input crank, the graph is shown here. So when your x, that is the linear displacement, is moving from 0 to xs, the angular position will be shown as theta s, which is nothing but point b1, or which is shown by point b1. Similarly, when your x is moving to, or it is having displacement which is equal to x, the angular displacement will be considered as theta, which is nothing but point b. And when your linear displacement is considered to be xf, the angular displacement is considered as theta f, and it is shown by point b2. So now let us consider this 4-bar mechanism I have already explained, which is arranged to generate a function y is equal to f of x over limited range. So let us consider the range in x as xf minus xs. Corresponding range in theta is theta f minus theta s. Similarly, let the range of output crank is considered to be y, and it is starting from ys and ending at yf, so range is considered to be yf minus ys, and corresponding angle is considered to be, and the respective range is considered to be phi and phi f minus phi s. So as I have already said, you have to make a correction here. Instead of writing xs, x and xf, you have to write it as ys, y and phi f. So now from this particular graph, we will be able to write the equation as del theta divided by del x, which is equal to theta f minus theta s divided by xf minus xs. So we will rearrange this formula to isolate the value of theta f on the left hand side. So what you have to do is you have to rearrange this particular equation by cross multiplication in such a way that you have to isolate the value of theta f on the left hand side. So we get formula as theta f is equal to del theta divided by del x into xf minus xs plus theta s. So if you want to write this particular formula for in generalized form, you have to replace this f subscript with the letter j, so that for considering n as the accuracy points or precision points in the particular mechanism, the formula can be reformed as theta j is equal to del theta divided by del x into xj minus xs plus theta s. So we have done this formulation for input crank. Similarly, we can do it for output crank also. Only thing, you have to replace this theta with phi and y with x with y. So similar kind of graph you will get. Here we are considering the relationship between x, s and theta as linear relationship. You must ask this question that why is the relationship between s and theta is considered as straight line? Because to formulate this particular generalized formula for finding out the angle relationship, initially, since it is approximated approach which we have already studied in the numerical method, there also we had considered the response of parachute to be a straight line previously, and as you go on reducing the step size between the x, you will get the accurate shape of the particular response of curve. So initially it will be considered as the straight line, hence it is considered as the relationship between s and theta is considered as linear relationship, and that is why it is considered as to be a straight line. Similarly, if you reform this particular graph for the output crank, and if you adopt the same procedure, you will get formula as phi z is equal to del phi divided by del y into yj minus ys plus phi s. So these two formulas are required to find out various angular displacement of input crank according to number of precision points. So if you want to find out theta 1, theta 2, theta 3, that means if you know the precision point as x1, and if you want to find out the respective corresponding inclination for that particular x1, you need to find out the theta 1. If you know the point x2, that is second precision point, but if you don't know the inclination, so you need to use this particular formula. So you can put j is equal to 2 and you can find out the corresponding inclination for precision point 2, that is x2. Similarly, you can do it for 3 also. So that is why since we can know the formulas for x1, x2 and x3 using Chebyshev spacing, using the angle relationship, using this particular approach, you will be able to find out corresponding angular displacement for those particular precision points. So now let us study one numerical based on the Chebyshev spacing and the angle relationship between the input and output crank for function generation. The numerical is given as a 4-bar mechanism is to be designed by using the 3 precision points. That means number of precision points are specified as 3, that is small n is equal to 3, to generate a function y is equal to x raised to 1.5 for the range of x varies from 1 to 4, assuming 30 degrees as starting position and 120 degrees as finishing position for input crank. So that means theta s is 30 degrees and theta f is 120 degrees, and 90 degrees starting position and 180 finishing position for output crank. That means phi s is 90 degrees and phi f is 180 degrees. Find the values of x, y, theta and phi for corresponding to 3 precision points. So this is a numerical which has to be solved using the approach which we have studied in the previous slides. So as I already said, xs is considered as, since the range of x is given as it is starting from 1, xs is considered as 1, xf is considered as 4, theta s is considered as 30, theta f as 120, phi s as 90, phi f as 180. So we know the generalized formula to find out the 3 values of x corresponding to 3 precision points, that is n is equal to 3 according to Chebyshev spacing. The formula is xj is equal to 1/2 xs plus xf minus 1/2 xf plus minus xs into cos pi 2j minus 1 divided by 2n. So here we have to consider the j is equal to 1, 2 and 3, and we have to repeat this procedure for 3 times, and small n is equal to 3 we have to consider. So now let us find out the values of x1. So what you have to do is you have to put the j is equal to 1 to get the answer of x1. So you can see here x1 is calculated as 1/2 1 plus 4 minus 1/2 4 minus 1 into cos pi 2 into j. Because now j is considered as 1, I have put the value of j as 1 minus 1 divided by 2 into 3, that is 2 into small n. Small n is nothing but number of precision points, which is 3. So you get answer for x1 as 1.2 when j is 1. Now put the value of j is 2 here. So xj is replaced by x2. We know the formula as 1/2 x, we can say xs plus xf, that is xs is 1, xf is 4 minus 1/2 xf minus xs, that is 4 minus 1 cos pi 2 into j, that is now j is replaced by 2. So 2 into 2 is 4 minus 1 divided by 2 into 3. So answer is 2.5. Similarly, now replace j, j with 3. So put the value of 3 here. So you get x3 is equal to 1 half 1 plus 4 minus 1 half 4 minus 1 cos pi 2 into 3. Now since j is replaced by 3, you have to put the value of j as 3 here, minus 1 divided by 2 into 3. The answer is 3.8. So now if you see the values of what is interpretation of these three values, if you see the values of x1, x2 and x3, obviously these three values falls between the bracket as 1 which was xs and 4 which was xf. If you are getting value which is less than 1 and value if it is which is more than 4, definitely assume that your answer is wrong. It is impossible that if you are getting the value of one of the precision point which is less than 1 and more than 4, obviously it is wrong. We have already studied that the precision points should fall between the bracket of initial start and initial start nahi, it is considered to be the starting point, that is xs, and finishing point as xf. So now similarly we can find out the value of y. Since we have calculated the value of x1 and x2 and x3, we can just put the value of x to find out the respective function y. So to find out y1, we have to consider the value of x1. So I will put this value of x1 as 1.2 in this particular equation. So 1.2 raised to 1.5, the answer is 1.316. Similarly, to find out y2, I will consider the value of x2 as 2.5 raised to 1.5 is equal to 3.952, and value to calculate the value of y3, we should consider the value of x3, that is 3.8 raised to 1.5 which is equal to 7.41. So you have to note one point again, that ys can be calculated as considering the value of xs, that is 1 raised to 1.5, that is answer is 1, whereas value of yf is also calculated by considering the value of xf, that is which is nothing but 4, which is 4 raised to 1.5 which is 8. So again here also if you check, the values of y1, y2 and y3 fall between ys and yf. If you are getting value of y1, y2 and y3, any of this value less than 1 and more than 8, assume that your answer is wrong. Now since we have found out the value of x1, x2, x3 and y1, y2, y3, we will be able to find out the respective angular position theta 1, theta 2, theta 3, and then phi 1, phi 2, phi 3. So let us consider the various formulas which we have derived in the previous slide, as theta j is equal to theta s plus theta f minus theta s divided by xf minus xs into xj minus xs, where j is considered to be 1, 2, 3. So just put the formula as, consider j as 1, you will get answer as theta 1 is equal to 30 plus 120 minus 30 divided by 4 minus 1 into 1.2 minus 1. Why it is considered as 1.2? Because since we have put value of j here, you get this value as x1. So value of x1 was nothing but 1.2. You can see here. Value of x2 is considered as 2.5 because we have calculated this at 2.5, and value of x3 is considered as 3.8. So which is considered here. So this is how you can find out the value of theta 1 as 36 degrees, theta 2 as 75 degrees, and theta 3 as 114 degrees. Similarly, you can find out the value of phi also. We know the formula for finding out positions of phi as phi j is equal to phi s plus phi f minus phi s divided by yf minus ys into yj minus ys. So let us put the value of j as 1 to find out value of phi 1, which is 90 plus 180 minus 90 divided by 8 minus 1. Value of y1 is considered here, y2 is considered here, and y3 is considered here. So 1.316 minus 1. So answer for phi 1 is 94.06. For phi 2 it is 127.95 degrees, and phi 3 is considered to be 172.41 degrees. So again if you compare the values for phi also, the lowest value is 90, which is phi s, and highest value is yf, which is 180 degrees. Your answer for phi 1, phi 2, phi 3 must fall between 90 and 180. Then and then only your answers are correct. If you are getting value of any of the phi below 90 degrees and above 180 degrees, your answer is wrong. Similarly, if you observe for theta also, it should fall between 30 and 120. Answer 36, 75 and 114 fall between these two values. So answers are correct. So this is how you should interpret your answers. There is no need to ask your answers to check with your friend. There is no need to ask your friend whether your answer is correct or not. You can by your own you can be able to interpret your answers whether it is correct or wrong. So try to understand the such kind of numerical in this fashion, so that the subject becomes very easy. So let us stop with this topic as of now, and from the next practical, if time permits, we will deal with some more numericals, or we can go for some other kind of graphical methods for synthesis of 4-bar mechanism. Thank you so much.